I started thinking, this is not just a phase, this is not just a small program, this could become really a mission or my vocation, and this could become really my career.
I want to see myself learning something new every day.
Eu penso que ser empreendedora é nato, não é uma coisa que...
What is fulfilling is being a hero to somebody else.
I felt I had been sheltered all my life.
Nisam se htjela fokusirati na ono što je negativno, već više na ono što ja sad ovdje mogu napraviti da bude dobro meni.
O que eu faço hoje me dá até conforto. Eu chego a agradecer a Deus, porque eu falo, cara, por que aconteceu isso comigo? Hoje eu mudei a vida de 6.500 pessoas.
I'm Ekta Jaju and I'm founder and CEO at Organic Foods.
Ja sam Irena Orlović, vlasnica sam i urednica izdavačke kuće Harpa.
I am from Chicago, Illinois. I am a social mission company first. I just happen to bake pies.
Eu sou Caroline Guinarra. Nós fundamos a Talento Incluir. Isso foi em 2008.
My name is Sara Baidun, and I'm the founder and creative director of Sara's Band.
Me being hearing impaired has taught me to not have an emotional reaction to everything.
Para mim, a deficiência é uma característica minha. E dos problemas que eu tenho, é o menor de todos, né?
I don't think the world needs one more brand or one more good bag or one more nice shirt. I think the world needs more of people supporting missions.
I think if you're passionate about what you want to do, you will find a way. I would want for this to become a revolution. I would want many farmers to turn organic.
Kao mama djeteta s teškoćama u razvoju primijetila sam koliko mi roditelji imamo utjecaja na djecu.
É trazer uma mente mais criativa para o negócio dele, né? Porque a mistura de histórias, a mistura de realidades faz com que a gente tenha resultados melhores.
I think I give a lot of the credit to who I am because of the journey that I took. So it's a very fulfilling journey. I love to be where I am.
What doesn't allow me to quit is that the souls of my ancestors would be looking down at me like, girl, we built this up during the civil rights movement.
Whoever is going to venture into a business, we better venture into a business that has a social impact at the same time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is really wonderful to be here with you today on behalf of UN Women, along with our collaborators, Mastercard, all these amazing film directors and heroes, women entrepreneurs who have dedicated their work to sustainable, impactful, and responsible businesses. What a wonderful way, at least for me, to start the day here in New York. Today's event takes place during the Global Entrepreneurship Week, when the entire ecosystem of entrepreneurs, investors, researchers, policymakers, and advocates come together to celebrate women's entrepreneurship. Approximately 250 million women around the world are entrepreneurs, and another 153 million women are operating established businesses already, according to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. So we can look at this number and use this opportunity to assess progress, but also to emphasize the challenges that business women face, because this number, ladies and gentlemen, should actually be a lot larger. We want to propose solutions and advocate for the policy change that is needed to help level the playing field for women-owned businesses. And as we all know, living in the strange times that we are living in and have been living in since the pandemic broke out, the crisis, the public health crisis, has simply exacerbated existing gender inequalities. The negative impacts of this pandemic are felt most strongly, actually, by women in three areas: in income, in health, and in security. And we knew that even before the pandemic, women were generally earning less and holding more insecure jobs or living closer to poverty than men. We also know that the impact of the pandemic is so severe that next year, probably 100 million women are going to be pushed into poverty. And that number is going to bring the total number of women who live on less than $2 a day to 435 million. Many women are unable to work during the pandemic. The newest data that we have has shown that all those people who are returning to the workforce as lockdowns have opened up, though, of course, in many countries we are going to see new lockdowns. But as people have gone back to work, actually, a lot of women have not gone back to work. And the reason that they haven't gone back to work is because of the burden of care that women carry. Even before the pandemic, women were carrying 2.7 times the care burden of men. During the pandemic, this has just gotten much worse because that person who's taking care of children at home, helping the kids with the homework, taking care of elderly people, taking care of people who are sick, that is usually a woman. We all have a role to play in changing the system. We can do something about this. I want to encourage each of us to ask ourselves, have we consciously bought goods and products and services from a woman entrepreneur in the last week when we have gone shopping? What are we personally doing to change this? We at UN Women, of course, as the global multilateral agency with a mandate on gender equality, is doing a lot. We are working with governments, we are working with private sector partners, we are working with civil society, we are working with entrepreneurs themselves, and we have a way of doing this. We have something called the Women's Empowerment Principles, which is a set of 7 principles that guides businesses on how to promote gender equality and women's empowerment in the workplace, in the marketplace, and in the community. We have almost 4,000 companies worldwide who have signed up for the WEPs as of this month. And I'm so pleased to say that we are here today with Mastercard, which is also a WEP signatory. And today's event is really about celebrating the power of film and the power of entrepreneurship in advancing the gender equality agenda. We are very happy to have Mastercard among our collaborators, and we want to invite all businesses in attendance to join this amazing WEPs community and to align with the Sustainable Development Goals. And now I'm really pleased to invite my collaborator, Monica Biagiotti, Executive Vice President of Consumer Marketing and Sponsorships at Mastercard, to tell us a bit more about Mastercard and their amazing collaboration with the women entrepreneurs and the film directors who we have here today. Over to you, Monica. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anita, for inviting us today. It's so exciting to be here with all these amazing women. So let's talk about FIVE. So what is FIVE? So FIVE is a series of 5 short documentaries directed by 5 women on 5 women entrepreneurs from 5 countries. And by the way, it's also a 5th UN Sustainable Development Goal, right? Achieving gender equality and empowerment for women and girls. But 5 is also, in most religions and culture, a symbol of balance between material and spiritual aspects of life. All these women that have something in common today, all these women, our protagonists, they are all successful with their business, but at the same time, they made the conscious decision to benefit their own community. And so why did really we choose to commission films instead of doing some advertising, right? Like normally corporations do. Because film is really the most powerful medium to reach people in a very authentic way both to drive empathy for women entrepreneurs' issues, but more importantly, to show their value to society. And what did we like about, these women that we selected? So first of all, they are entrepreneurs. Small businesses are so important to society because they employ 70% of all workers globally and deliver up to half of GDP. And among SME, only 33% are women. So there is a really long way to go to close the gender gap. And with COVID, unfortunately, SME has been, the most impacted, and especially women, as Anita was saying, and women of color. So it is clear that SME will have to reinvent themselves in a post-COVID world. And, what is striking me is that many of these women that we have today started with major challenges, and they turned these challenges into great opportunities for themselves and the others. So I really believe that in a moment like that, they are of great inspiration. And from Mastercard point of view, SME are so important because we as a company, we are in many facets of our life, both personal and professional. They own our card, they accept our card, they use our digital solution. And for this reason, Mastercard has committed to supporting women in business as part of our gender balanced agenda. So, as a company, we believe that the only truly sustainable growth is inclusive growth. And of course, financial inclusion is a key element of it. So 5 years ago, we made a commitment to bring 500 million financially excluded individuals into the digital economy. And now that we have achieved that goal, we decided to double down and to bring that commitment to 1 billion individuals by 2025, including also a direct focus on providing 50 million SMEs, and among them 25 million women, so half and not 33%, with solution to grow their business. Because what we believe is really that a world that works better for women creates limitless opportunities for all.
I am so pleased to be here today. My name is Inga Blake. I'm an Emmy award-winning executive producer and excited to be your moderator for this global panel. I'm really looking forward to this discussion, so let's meet the amazing women directors and entrepreneurs who are part of FIVE, the collection of short films. Joining us today, we have Carolina, who's coming from Brazil. Carolina, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Carol. I'm from Brazil. I'm from São Paulo, from Talento Incluir. It is a pleasure to be with you, and now I pass my voice to my interpreter, Paula, so I can better communicate and understand the session. Now, my voice is Paula's voice.
Thank you so much, Carol.
I'm a woman with
and
disability.
We have Ekta joining us from India. Ekta, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Ekta Jaju, and I'm with Organic Foods. I'm really excited to be here. We are a social enterprise, and we work with small and marginal farmers, organic farmers, and help find markets for the specialty rices that they grow.
Thank you so much, Ekta. And we have Ella, who's joining us from New York. Ella, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ella Mache. I'm a director of the Harfa episode, representing Croatia, my homeland country, and big hello to everyone from New York City.
Thank you so much, Ella. And we have Sara joining us from Lebanon. Hi, Sara. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Sara Baidun, and I'm the founder and creative director of Sara's Bag. We're a Beirut-based company that specializes in the creation of handmade handbags and accessories. What's special about what we do is that we work with women in prison and underprivileged women to create the ornament on our accessories.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sara. And we have Michelle, who is joining us from Mauritania right now. Michelle, please tell a bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Marion. I'm originally from New York, and I'm a director and cinematographer, and I was the director of Justice of the Pies that took place in Chicago.
Fantastic. Yes, such a full and powerful film. And because of that, we're going to start with you, Michelle, since we just watched your movie. What message did you want to get across with this film, and why was the story of Maya Camille, excuse me, so important to share?
Um, well, I think that Maya's story is basically a window into, like all of our films, what it means to really be in the as it were, and be passionate about social justice um, and grassroots entrepreneurship, and also like what the impetus behind that is. Maya's story is very personal. Her father being the inspiration for her business, and everybody's film here has a very unique and special personal story. So I think that's what makes all of our films very important, is that these are real people with real personal um, stories, and that decided to make their life about turning the tide in their communities. So that's why I thought it was important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, these films really capture the heart, mission, and story behind every brand. And Sarah, your mother said that you didn't start as a business. You discovered the suffering first. And it is well known that some women entrepreneurs experience numerous barriers, including accessing financial products and services. So, what was your experience, and how did you overcome it? And most importantly, what was the most useful piece of business advice you've received?
Actually, personally, I didn't face many barriers in terms of financial barriers, because I started very organically and grew my business and reinvested the money I got uh, organically and grew. Especially that I work in fashion, which is a sort of a feminine world. There was not much discrimination. However, the discrimination felt is mainly in those who work with me, the underprivileged women. I've seen how much they have been discriminated upon as women. Even their husbands were challenged by the fact that they were earning money. And although we encourage them to create partnership with their husbands and not to be looked at as threats, but they're always discriminated once they started earning money. As a business advice, I would definitely uh, encourage people to start social businesses. I think it's different when you wake up every day and not just to go to work, but you wake up with a purpose. And for me, it has been very fulfilling and very enriching to be able to work and help other women while doing so. And I don't think I would have put in so much effort and tears and blood into Sarah's bag had it been just another company that creates handbags. So I would advise people to actually work in social enterprises.
Absolutely. And Ekta, more than ever, we're seeing it critical for businesses to be aligned with that mission, just like Sarah was saying. And we'd love you to expand on why this was so important to you and how it has impacted any of your decisions about your business, your partners. Could you please tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So we started doing what we do because we're very passionate about the environment. And I do very strongly feel that organic agriculture can solve a lot of the problems for the smallholder farmers. And when we started this business, the idea was how can we help farmers switch to organic cultivation? And we felt that marketing was one really big uh, missing piece in this puzzle, and we could solve that. We could help many farmers turn organic. And so because of this mission that we had, and also the fact that the farmers that we worked with are farmers who were very passionate, who wanted to switch because they have been using chemicals and they understand the problems of chemicals, and they wanted to switch to a sustainable cultivation practices. And so, what I have realized is that the produce that our farmers grow it's always been genuine organic. We've never had residue problems. They were very good farmers, so even the quality of produce that we get is very nice. And so, because of this strong foundation that we've had, which is not the idea of this is not to make money, but to be sustainable and to create a sustainable environment. And so, we've been able to build a very reliable brand in the organic space for ourselves. And I think, in some sense, how that helps not just our partners but the industry is to see how can more reliability, how can more genuine players come in this space, and how can farmers actually find access to markets where they're looking for working with such groups. So I think overall, because of the social impact, I think we've been able to create a space which is very unique and something that I feel very proud of.
That's fantastic. You should absolutely be proud of what you've accomplished. And Carol, as a business owner, how do you ensure that your employees, women and men, are treated fairly and without discrimination in the workplace?
So, we as a business, we work with diversity. That's what we do. That's what we are. I am a woman with disability and I acquired this disability. I'm now in a wheelchair. And work was very important since the beginning so that I could reintegrate in society. I have a degree in physical education, but I worked in an area that body was paramount. And when the accident had took place, I thought I've lost my ability to work. But I was very lucky because I was working and my manager actually invited me to get back to work. And like I said, working was absolutely important to recover my condition. Now, the business was built to respect and value differences and diversity. Talento Include means talent to include. That is the actual name of my business. So what I do is I employ people with disabilities. Actually, in Brazil, there is a legislation that a quota that obliges employers who have over 100 employees to have at least one quarter of those with some sort of disabilities. So that's about diversity and diversity. So that's about diversity and difference. So it's about being a man and women. It's more than this. Our business purpose is to drive equity in human relations. And equity is precisely this treatment that treat people differently when they need to be treated differently and equally when they need to be equal. So it's about building the business. It couldn't be any different. And every time we're in doubt, we second guess if we're on the right path. And am I being fair with men and women? We always take a step back, go back to the drawing board, to our purpose, and we make our decisions very aware because when we do things absent-mindedly, we end up getting onto a path on a behavior that is oppressive, and we don't even realize we're being oppressive in our behavior and attitude. That is why I believe us, entrepreneurs, people who hire people, employers and managers, people who manage, I always tell them to be mindful, to be conscious, so that you unaware, so that you are not aware that you are taking an oppressive path.
That's very true. And as storytellers, we should be mindful and aware of making sure that we represent all voices, especially underrepresented and marginalized voices. And I'd actually like to go to the filmmakers today, right now. Ella, let's get some info. As the director of Harfa, you told the story of a mother who has a child with a disability, and she was inspired to create her business by seeing her daughter's will to live. Now, what did you learn about women's entrepreneurship in the filmmaking process? And if there is one message you would like for our audience to remember from this piece, what is that message?
Thank you for that wonderful question. I mean, the lessons that I had learned from Irena, this such a powerful mother that could have turned a very dark situation in her life where her child was born with very difficult heart problems, cognitive behavioral issues later. She could have just, stopped in the darkness there, but it actually inspired her to get, start her own publishing company called Harfa, especially in a country where you don't have much literature about books for anyone with any kind of cognitive behavioral issues. What I learned from her is it's all about resilience and turning a disaster into an opportunity. And that's all it was. It's almost with her as if there was no darkness. It was like, what is next? What is next? How do I help this? And I think that's the power of all women. It's, you have this, mother inside of you that's just such a fighter to go forward. So it's very much a thing of a heart. Her daughter can't speak nor hear, and it's not even about sign language. She has a certain way of listening, and when she meets you, when she met our team, I made sure we were just very kind, accepting, and going slowly with things. And I thought it would be like a sad atmosphere, but on the other hand, they as people were just such a gift to myself and made the whole production team come together as a family in a way that no other film set comes together where it's scripted. So it was just beyond belief. Just biggest lesson success, I think, is about listening to each other as human beings, listening with heart, and then resiliently going forward. And sometimes the toughest things and people who go through the darkest of times are people who shine the brightest. And really, she inspired me, and the whole project inspired me to go.
Fantastic. I mean, absolutely. We've got resilience. You've got all the key words that really define leadership in women, and all to listen. And one thing that's so beautiful about all these films is you really see the celebration of community. And we're in interesting times where brands are becoming the champions of so many underrepresented groups, and kudos to Mastercard for this incredible global initiative. So, Monica, my question for you is, what impact can brands have on the causes and people they support?
So, it's very important, that companies today make their part to make the world a better place. And this is not just because it's right, but because it makes business sense. And especially with the COVID times, we see that government alone cannot face the situation. So really everyone has to make it part, right? From government to companies to corporations to individuals. And what we see is also, and why it makes business sense, for companies, that the majority of people today expect that brands have a positive impact, on society. And also we see that the majority of people, have in one way are, their purchase decisions are influenced by that point, right? That they expect that brand take actions. And we also see that consumers are more likely to recommend a brand with a strong purpose. And this is not only important to the consumers, to the customers, to the people, but also to employees. And this is a great motivator, like also Sara was saying, right, for the workforce to feel that their job has a purpose that can have a positive impact on society.
Absolutely. I mean, we're definitely seeing that rise of the socially conscious consumer. And so, Anita, could you please provide us with some more insights to the women principles? 5. Also, discuss in detail of gender responsive procurement and finance for women entrepreneurs.
So maybe I'll start with the last piece, which is the finance for women entrepreneurs, because this is an area which, I think we need to do much more on, because it's amazing in how many countries there are laws that actually prohibit women in some way or the other from getting loans, whether it can be something as insidious as needing your husband's signature to get a loan, to just being discriminated against by that lending officer because he or she thinks that the woman is actually a poor credit risk. Whereas, in fact, we know that women are actually much better at paying back loans than men. There's plenty of evidence from the microfinance industry and other industries that show that women are actually very good credit risks. So I think there is a lot of work to be done still in that area. What the WEPs does is actually lay out a set of principles for how companies, such as Mastercard and others, can really push this systemically. So it's about developing the business, it's about the supply chain, it's about marketing practices, and basically it's saying, look, you don't have to do new things. You already have a set of purchasing policies, for instance, in place. You can just make them more gender sensitive by making sure that when you look at suppliers, you're looking purposefully for female suppliers. It's like recruitment. When you're recruiting, are you making an effort to recruit female talent? So it's the same principle, but applied to the area of procurement. And also, it is about making sure that you are taking those intentional steps to diversify your procurement pool, as it were, because once you start to source from gender responsive companies, you are actually having multiplier effects through the system, because it's not just what you are doing for your company, but it's also the impact that those suppliers have on their families, on their communities. So it's really a very inexpensive but highly efficient way of leveraging existing infrastructure within a company to have a social impact. And what WEPS does is it brings together different parts of the organization by thinking holistically about gender equality in order to advance it. And so you can have web signatories purchase from other web signatories. That's one easy way to start. You're not always going to find the suppliers you need in that universe of 4,000 companies, but at least it's a start. And you can this way begin to address the systemic discrimination that women face throughout the supply chain. And then you can do other things as a company. You can make sure, for example, that the head of your procurement department is a woman, assuming, of course, that all the other basic technical requirements are met. So there are a number of steps that companies can take, and WEPS goes through these in some detail. And that's why it's such a powerful tool. And that's why we encourage companies to sign up for it, just the way Mastercard has done.
Yes, and it's so great because, through the power of storytelling, we can raise people's consciousness about all of these initiatives. So thank you so much for that. Now, we did talk about how COVID has, with COVID-19, it's really impacted women. So I'd like to ask the entrepreneurs on the panel, especially with not being able to go back to work, what adjustments have you had to make because of the COVID-19 pandemic? I mean, Carol, like what's happening on your side?
We were actually faster with our adaptation actually and getting back to work because our delivery format is online. So our whole team went home straight away. We kept in touch. Our meetings, with our online meetings, we were actually communicating better with them, the office meetings. We also had trainings and talks that were always in person, and workshops that were always in person. But overnight, we adopted technology and we kept work going, we kept it all up remotely. And we were pleasantly surprised. We had some positive surprises because I actually admit, I was very resistant to technology. I didn't want to do anything remotely or digital, especially because we were talking about disabilities. I felt that the in-person was the key and was essential. But with the pandemic and the online, we discovered so many benefits and we were pushed to this. But it was a great benefit, great surprise. Sometimes, for example, we were doing a talk with a leader with an organization. They say, listen, I'm going to bring my wife, my children, and I want them to hear what you're saying. So that is a perfect example of the kind of surprise we got, because we do trainings, we do talks, and the technology really helped to multiply and reach other people. When it comes to recruiting, because we help people, employ people with disabilities, that had already been going on online digitally. So some adjustments we had to be made. It's like profiling, the dynamics to find the right match. We had always done that in person. Now we're doing that digital. It was not easy to convince managers, employers, those who are to hire someone, a team to hire someone 100% digitally. How do you hire someone that you never met in person? But everybody adapted very quickly. It was the new normal, and we managed to adjust the course very quickly. The first 3 months were scary. Myself and my partner, we were fearful. The same fear that all entrepreneurs feel they get when there's any risk or any change. But we're closing the year with our revenues above the targets that we had set for the beginning of the year. So it was a challenge, many willingness to adapt, but we managed and we got the results that we expected. And we're very happy with the technology that has been adopted.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm very happy to hear that. Now, Sara, I know for you, you're on top of a pandemic, you also had to deal with a tragedy with the blast in Lebanon. Could you please tell us how you're doing right now and how you're working to rebuild your business?
Many disasters that hit us this year. We had to deal with an economical collapse. We had to deal with the banking sector collapse. Our money were stranded in banks. We couldn't have access and still don't have access to our money. We also had the local currency devaluation. And to top everything, we had the 4th of August explosion, which was a drastic explosion. And my workshop, my boutique, and my house got partially destroyed. How now we are in rebuilding mode, and I'm very thankful for Mastercard because we have their support on this. And we're trying our best to pick up the pieces and continue working. We're not going to let go of what we started. Actually, the mission is what's driving us to rebuild and to go back to work.
Fantastic. And, going back to MasterCard, Monica, before we wrap, how might some other small business owners become involved with MasterCard's initiatives?
Yes, of course. So when we look at really what are the needs of small businesses is really about, there are three main needs: getting paid, getting capital, and getting digital. And as we have seen also from the last conversation, really during these times, we have seen how critical it is for women small business to be digitally enabled, right? And so what we are doing is along with our partners, we are working to get small businesses online, protecting their business and ensuring they have the right tools to digitally transform. So just to give you an example, we are helping to move storefronts online through our e-commerce partners. We are getting them the digital skills. We also we help them to learn on how to accept digital payments. And one important factor as well, which is very important, is really security. So we are helping them to protect their business from cyber attacks through Mastercard solutions. These are just few examples, but I think that, it's really show also not only how we are passionate about that, but also how we work with our partners, with all our ecosystem, to really accelerate and help solve needs in that particular difficult moment.
Wow, that's fantastic. And, I just wanted to make sure we got that in there, but I also wanted to check in with Ekta. How are you doing in this, with the COVID pandemic? How's your business doing right now?
So thankfully, we work in the essential food sector. So there has not been a dearth of demand for organic food. In fact, what we feel is that people have now become more conscious about what they eat. They want to make sure that they eat right. They spend on themselves. And so we feel that the demand for organic food has increased. But having said that, I think what I really want to acknowledge is that we've been able to grow and do what we do only because of our farmers. So they're one community that, despite the pandemic, when all of us were at home, they were still on their fields. They were still waking up the same time. They were still going to their fields. They were still growing food that all of us could eat. And we also had a very bad cyclone in my state, and a large part of their summer crop was destroyed. And even after that, when we reached out to them to check with them if we could do something for them, they came back saying that though we've lost a crop, we're hopeful that we'll grow our next crop. Only if my next crop gets destroyed would I really need help from outside. And so I can't continue to tell you how grateful I feel to be able to work with this community, especially for them being small farmers, just having enough, but yet do not feel that they need help. So, they continue to feed the country, they continue to feed all of us. And I think they are the backbone of the country. So, yeah, I think we're very grateful that we're able to work with them.
For sure. That's fantastic. And before we go, I definitely want to check in with our filmmakers, Michelle and Ella. What have you learned? What has this experience, what have you come away with this experience working with these women and just with Mastercard in general? Michelle, do you want to start?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. Well, I guess I've just learned that not only through my experience with Justice the Pies and Maya, but seeing everyone's films and just seeing stories from around the world, is that, entrepreneurs have a very resilient spirit in common, and that they just won't stop. Like there's no stopping them. There's no obstacle, there's no cyclone, there's no explosion. Like they're just gonna level up, and that's just part of their story. So I just really learned to appreciate the diverse resilience of the human spirit, and that we saw in all these women.
Fantastic. And Ella, your experience working with this whole, Mastercard, United Nations, these whole female stories.
Yes, anytime I get to, direct or act, produce, I'm so grateful for the work. I think what Mastercard did with this project, putting all of the women together, is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we look across the screen and there's different cultures, countries, we're all in different time zones. And my heart feels richer for this opportunity for the project. I think that what I learned from the project is, we're all like little soldiers in this world. And from whatever pains that we might have, you just must every time turn that into a positive. Like it's your job to find a way, and there is always a way. There's always tomorrow. And from, what I have seen of people with disabilities, whatever issue it may be, I mean, those people shine the brightest. And, I don't have some huge difficulties. And I mean, of course, we all have difficulties, but like, they're just an example of how amazing life can be and how you can turn the darkest thing in your life into something amazing in a business. And oftentimes the most painful things have the biggest drive inside. You just have to find it. And that's what I learned through Irana.
100%. We find our purpose through challenges and different things. And I could actually sit here and speak to you all today, but I know we have to wrap up. So I just want to thank you all so much for joining us today for this inspirational discussion. And special thanks to each one of our panelists for sharing your stories with us. The full collection of short films will be available early next year. But for more information, you can please visit 5mc.com. I'm Zinga Blake, and thank you again for being with us all here today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Thank you.